So what's been the hardest part for you, Daniel, as you bring two companies together, as you bring culture together, as you manage 70 employees in a remote environment? What's the hardest part?
Uh, I think just being, the hardest part was before we got to this size, right? Like it was brutal when we, in 2018 when we weren't profitable. So like when we started to grow, my responsibility shifted from being an individual contributor and managing things that kept us alive to really focusing on the people, which, I don't even consider that to be the hardest part. So I'm lucky in the sense that like as we've grown, the part I'm focused most on is making sure that we remain productive as a company, right? So I think there's a balance when you focus on really being people first. There's an inclination to not want to give people constructive feedback, to not set hard goals. You want to make everything happy, and so I'd say the tricky part, I wouldn't call it the hard part, but the tricky part is to find the balance between motivating people towards clear growth and making sure you're creating value for shareholders while also making it a win-win for employees. And you had mentioned in our earlier conversation how 20 years ago it was very much like employers were in control, and there's certainly a focus now where employees feel in control. At least it was for a period of time. But I actually think the best businesses are one that where there's a symbiosis, where each side views helping the other person in equal quantity to themselves, right? Like I actually, one of my favorite things, the gal who's been around here 10 years, second longest to me, we hired her out of college as a copywriter, and now she's had, maybe a dozen roles, and she's amazing, and she's our VP of operations, and she's like sits at the hub of all of these important things. And it's just an honor and a pleasure to see her growth over these years and be part of that, right? And so, to some degree or another, I'm focusing on that with every single employee. I want to make sure that they do two things: that they're growing, they're making more money, and that in the process of growing and making more money, they're contributing fairly to the company. And then that system, that ecosystem, makes everybody better. And like I said, I would say it's hard, it's very challenging and fun. It's the trickiest part of what I'm trying to do, but it's also a very rewarding part.